And Rikki, we mentioned you're a new face on the panel. You are the editor and publisher of Knoxville Environmental Newspaper and the Hellbender Press. That's the name of your publication. I want to talk to you about one of the headlines that you're seeing. We were talking about it in the break, but it's the stormwater issue, the clean air issue, or clean water issue, excuse me, is really what you've been seeing a lot of.
Right, and they're related in the sense that air, the air has to be a public commodity. We can't, you can have your private property, but you can't keep the air there. And water's the same way. It flows across property boundaries, and so there's that same sort of dynamic of property rights versus this public commodity.
And you're tracking some legislation in the Tennessee State House that would up the fines, make it more onerous on people who do dirty the water.
Yeah, a Knoxville organization, Tennessee Clean Water Network, has authored a bill called the Tennessee Clean Water Act, and Jamie Woodson is one of the sponsors. And it sets up a structure to improve enforcement where TDEC would start to keep track of violations, and as a developer accrues violations, start to get fines, and then if they continue to break the law, they'll eventually lose their ability to get permits.
We've actually seen that in the last week or so. You had some fines, some substantial fines levied by TDEC, that's Department of Environment and Conservation, on some of our local developers. I mean, there was fines up to $1 million on some of these developers, and one of them was Mike Ross, Rarity Communities. His was, I think, $350,000 or so, but it basically was for mud, going into the water. And I noted Mike's comment was this wasn't toxic, this was just dirt. But what Rick was saying is this, TDEC has now determined that they're going to be fined. They're going to levy these fines, and that's a pretty significant.
You see that as a big, historically speaking, that's big for Tennessee.
It's a big deal, and for developers, are now going to have to be very cognizant of, making sure they don't even have any flow of, dirt into the water.
Well, and one of the things with sediment is it tends to bind to other chemicals, so it's just dirt to begin with, but it does tend to stick to the toxins and can become a way that the toxins stay in the river system longer. And of course, mud is toxic to a lot of aquatic animals, that it can clog gills and that kind of thing.
Quickly, because we're running out of time, but Fred Thompson, dropped a little bit in the poll you were pointing out, Susan.
Well,
right? He's third national.
NBC just did a national poll that in the Republicans, Giuliani was of course still first, and McCain was second, but Fred Thompson was third with 17%, and he hasn't even announced.
So when does he announce?
Soon, I would hope.
All right. We've been hearing that the last couple of weeks.
We have.
We appreciate you joining us this morning. We will see you next week on Inside Tennessee.